Hello, and welcome to the F1 FIRS Predictions Challenge 2024 results. I am Sosh, and I'm going to be running through the results from the F1 FIRS Predictions Challenge for the F1 2024 season. Back in January of last year, I released a form in homage to the old Chamber Predictions Challenge for the members of the F1 FIRS Telegram group, and in total I had 30 participants, so here are our 30 contestants. There were 35 questions across 7 categories with a maximum possible score of 550 points. So you can track your score as we go through, use the tower on the left. If there are any ties, it will be ordered in the order in which you filled out the form. So to start us off, the first section is starters for 10. 6 questions, each where the correct answer scores you 10 points. The first question, who will be the World Drivers' Champion? The correct answer is, of course, Max Verstappen. 27 people got that correct, and so earned 10 points. Meanwhile, in terms of incorrect answers, we also had 1 answer each for Lando Norris, George Russell, and Fernando Alonso. All correct answers get 10 points, and all wrong answers get nothing. Next question. Who comes last in the World Drivers' Championship? The correct answer was Jack Doohan. On the form, there was a someone else option, and well done for those who picked it. Until the final race, it would have been Valtteri Bottas, and those 7 players would have scored nothing. The most common incorrect answer was Logan Sargent, with 20. Also, 3 people guessed Kevin Magnussen. Next question. Which team will win the World Constructors' Championship? Nobody correctly predicted the McLaren would come out on top this year. Meanwhile, 28 people guessed Red Bull will bring home the hat-trick, with 1 vote each for Mercedes and Racing Bulls. So there is no scoring in this round. Next question. Which team will come last in the World Constructors' Championship? The correct answer is obviously Sauber, and there were 6 correct guesses. Meanwhile, 17 people incorrectly guessed Haas, who had their best result since 2018 to finish 7th overall. Meanwhile, 5 people also guessed Williams, and 2 guessed Racing Bulls. Next question. Which driver gets the most Driver of the Day awards? The correct answer was Lando Norris, with 7 Driver of the Day awards over the course of the season, ahead of Charles Leclerc with 4, and Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz tied with 3 each. 16 people correctly guessed Lando to take home those 10 points. Meanwhile, 6 people thought Magic Alonso, who actually got no Driver of the Day awards this year. 3 people guessed Oscar Piastri, who got 2 Driver of the Day awards, and then 2 votes each for Max Verstappen and Alexander Albon, with only Max getting a single Driver of the Day award this year. And there was also a single vote for Charles Leclerc. For the last question in the section, F1 every year gives out an overtaking award. And this year, like last year, it was a fan vote from all of the overtake of the months, which are awarded through the course of the year. And the winner was Franco Colapinto at United States Grand Prix. Nobody correctly guessed Franco using the someone else tick box, and the most popular incorrect answer was Fernando Alonso, who received no overtake of the months. Of the other incorrect answers, only Charles Leclerc, Alexander Albon, and Oscar Piastri were in the vote, alongside Yuki Tsunoda and Oliver Behrman, who nobody picked. The winning overtake was actually against Magic Alonso. For the next section, I want you to guess who was in which position after a certain number of races. To explain how the scoring in this section works, these questions are scored using the previous F1 scoring system of 10, 6, 4, 3, 2 and 1 as employed by Formula 1 between 1991 and 2002. So, who was first in the Drivers' Championship after the first race? So, who wins the first race? The answer was of course Max Verstappen, with Sergio Perez second and Carlos Sainz third, and the last scoring position in this round being Lando Norris in 6th. 25 people correctly guessed Max for 10 points, with 2 guessing Charles Leclerc for 3 points, and 1 guess for Lando Norris getting a single point. There were 2 non-scoring answers. One for Oscar Piastri, who was in 8th, and one for Lewis Hamilton, who was 7th. So who was second in the championship after the second race? Correct answer was Sergio Perez, in second after a pair of second places from the first 2 races. Any driver from Max Verstappen in first down to a Fernando Alonso in 7th scores points this round. 3 of you correctly guessed Sergio and walk away with 10 points, whereas 3 guessed Max and another 5 guessed Charles to both net 6 points. And then 1 guess for Oscar for 3 points, and the last scoring guess was Fernando for 1 point. There were 3 non-scoring answers in this round. 5 people picked Lando, who is in 8th, 7 people picked Lewis Hamilton, who is in 9th, and 1 guess for Pierre Gasly, who was last of all in the standings after the second race of the season. Who was 4th in the championship after the 4th race? The answer is Carlos Sainz, with scoring from Max in 1st place to Lewis Hamilton in 9th place in the standings, scoring this round. 2 guesses for Carlos earned 10 points, 3 guesses for Charles and 7 for Lando get 6 points, 2 guesses for Sergio net 4 points, 2 guesses for Max and 1 for George gain 3 points each, 3 guesses for Fernando get 2 points, and 9 guesses for Lewis are rewarded with 1 point. Everyone actually scored in this round. Well done. Moving on to 8th in the championship, after Monaco, we have Lewis Hamilton, with scoring between Lando Norris in 3rd overall and Oliver Behrman in 13th, scoring. Nobody correctly guessed Lewis, but 1 guess apiece for George and Fernando gained 6 points, 3 guesses for Oscar net 4 points, and a single vote for Sergio and 3 votes for Lance gained 3 points. Now to cover the non-scoring answers, we had 6 votes for Pierre Gasly, who was in 18th overall, 3 votes for Alexander Albon, who was in 15th overall, 3 votes also for Esteban Ocon, who was in 16th, 2 votes for Max Verstappen, who is obviously still in 1st place, 2 votes for Valtteri Bottas, who is in 20th, 4 votes for Daniel Ricciardo, who is just outside the scoring positions in 14th, and 1 vote for Kevin Magnussen, who is 17th overall. And the final entry in this series of questions, who was in 16th place in the championship after the 16th race at Monza? Kevin Magnussen is the correct answer here, with all scoring answers being between Nico Hülkenberg in 11th and Logan Sargent in 20th. Franco here won't score because someone else would pick Oliver Behrman in 17th instead. We had 2 correct guesses for Kevin, that then net 10 points. 2 guesses for Alex get 6 points, a guess for Danny Rick, and 6 guesses for Zhou Guanyu, reward with 3 points, 5 guesses for Yuki, and 3 for Logan give 2 points, and 5 guesses for Nico give 1 point. Non-scoring answers in this section include a single guess for Valtteri Bottas, who ended up 22nd, a frankly unbelievable 2 guesses for Max Verstappen to be 16th when he's still 1st, and 3 guesses for Lance Stroll, who's just outside the scoring places in 10th. On to the next section. In these questions, I asked you to select all the drivers who met a given criteria. The scoring in this section works, where you get 10 points for every correct answer and lose 5 points for every incorrect answer. And remember, incorrect answers count to where you didn't select a driver that did count, and when you selected a driver that didn't meet the criteria. In this section, we're looking for every driver to get a race win. There were 7 winners in total this year, which in alphabetical order is Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris, Piastri, Russell, Sainz and Verstappen. So here's the results from the votes. All of your correct answers are in green and all of your incorrect answers are in red, and this is what that actually means. Note that messing up in this section can actually translate into losing points overall, as evidenced here by Seawolf, Gabby and Glyn. For the next question, I wanted to know every driver to stand on the podium in 2024. There were 10 people who got to stand on the podium this year in the regular races, which in alphabetical order is Gasly, Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris, Ocon, Perez, Piastri, Russell, Sainz and Verstappen. Some of you do need to read the question better, because some of you didn't actually select some of your entries that you had already put in for the race winners, but winning a race is still standing on the podium. Still, there's only 1 entrant losing points this round, but there's 100 points between the top scorer and the bottom scorer in this round alone. So this has really started to pace the field out. And the last question in this section is every driver to get a sprint race win. There are only 3 drivers who got to claim a sprint race victory this year, with Norris and Piastri winning 1 each and Verstappen winning 4. Weirdly, some of you actually selected more than 6 drivers to get a sprint race win. I'm not sure whether that's just spreading your bets, or people didn't think about how many sprint races there were going to be in 2024. There were only 6. So there's actually quite a few people who end up losing points in this round. Anyway, On to the next section. In this section there were 10 questions, one for each team and focusing on the 2 teammates. These will be scored again using the F1 scoring system used from 1991 to 2002, where getting it right scores 10 points, being one or more than one away gets 6 points, then 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. For the Red Bull question, I'm looking for the points difference between Max and Sergio at the end of the season. The correct answer is 285 point difference between Max and Sergio, with Max's 437 points against Sergio's paltry 152 points tally. In this particular question, Gabby is our only valid point scorer, with 290 earning her a single point. And this is where the non-scoring answers appear on a graph. Corvix's answer of 450 is actually more points than Max earned by himself in the whole season. Everyone else guessed lower. For the Mercedes question, I'm looking for the delta between Lewis and George for sprint qualifying. When calculating this, I only took the times for the highest session they both competed in. For example, if Lewis was knocked out in SQ2 and George made it to SQ3, I only counted their SQ2 times, as that guarantees they were competing in the same conditions. The correct answer was 0.23 seconds. 10 responses managed to get within a tenth of the correct answer and so get the 10 points. 6 were within 2 tenths and get 6 points, 7 responses get 4 points, 2 get 2 points, and 2 get 1 point. Only 3 non-scoring responses, which thought there'd be over a second difference between Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. It'd be interesting to know exactly who they thought would be faster. For the Ferrari question, I'm looking for how many crashes the full-time Ferrari pair will have between them through the course of the year. To clarify, I'm defining a crash as an incident that a Ferrari was involved in where the Ferrari sustains notable damage. The correct answer in this case was 10. We had 1 vote, which actually gets the whole 10 points, and there was 1 guess each for 9 and 11 incidences, which earn 6 points, 3 guesses each for 8 and 12 crashes, which get 4 points, 4 guesses for 7 crashes to bag 3 points, 4 guesses for 6 crashes with 2 points, and 2 guesses for 5 crashes for 1 point. And this is where the non-scoring answers placed. Interestingly, Sochi thought that they would have more than 1 crash per event between them. For the McLaren question, I'm looking for how many Q3 appearances there were for both drivers. Both Lando and Oscar appeared in Q3 at every race except 1, with Lando dropping out in Q1 at Azerbaijan and Oscar also being eliminated in Q1 in Mexico. Only Zed scores here with 6 points for being 1 away, with an answer of 45. And here's how the non-scoring answers fell. Some definite grouping around the high teens here. For the Aston Martin question, I'm looking for the difference in average finishing position between Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll in the regular races. The correct answer is 2.8, but nobody actually guessed that low. The lowest guess was 4, which means 4 people gain 4 points, 8 people gain 3 points, 7 get 2 points, and 2 get 1 point each. And in the non-scoring entries, a big group are just missing out on a point by answering 8 positions. Meanwhile, for the Alpine question, I wanted to know how many times Ocon and Gasly would collide with each other through the course of the season. To define this a bit more tightly, I just need the 2 of them to make contact. Doesn't actually need to result in damage or a car going out, just need to hit each other. And the correct answer is that there were only 2 instances of that this year. This then earns 10 of us 10 points, 2 answers for 1 incident and 6 answers for 3 incidents, scoring 6 points. A vote for none and 3 votes for 4 incidents earn 4 points. And then 2 people said 5 for 3 points, and just 1 for 7 instances, scoring a single point. For the non-scoring answers, Bo and Volps seemed to think that the Alpines would crash into each other more than once per event. For the Williams question, I'm looking for the difference between Albon and Sargent in qualifying through the year. Again, I'm only counting both sessions they competed in, so these are mostly Q1 times, as Sargent only got through into Q2 3 times before being kicked out after Belgium. The correct answer was 0.42 seconds between the 2 teammates. only one of you actually got this right for 10 points. 7 people get 6 points, 1 for 4 points, 3 for 3 points, 4 for 2 points, and 2 get 1 point. Funnily enough, nobody thought this one was going to be close. And while nobody thought it was going to be close, some people thought the gap would be much bigger than it really was. But wait! The graph doesn't even stop there. It keeps going. Now, a 20-second difference average for qualifying over the course of the year would just be something else. I don't think Sargent's that bad, really. Right, for the Racing Bulls question, it was how long before one of the Red Bull quote-unquote juniors gets dropped? The answer was, of course, that Daniel Ricciardo managed 18 races before being dropped in favour of Liam Lawson. Again, nobody got this correct, but a single vote for 15 races in nets 3 points, and 3 votes for after the penultimate round of the season earn 1 point each. There's a fairly good spread of non-scoring results here, with a good cluster of answers early in the season, and then some of us thinking that they'd be able to keep Marco in check for a whole year. I can only imagine that Sochi's answer of 69, nice, was just to put the funny number in there somewhere. Alas, there are no bonus points here. Now, for the Sauber question, it was how many points finishers would Zhou and Bottas manage this year? The correct answer, of course, is that lone 8th place point finish for Zhou in Qatar. Nobody got this one right, but a couple of guesses for just 2 point scoring positions score 6 points, 7 guesses for 3 gets 4 points, 4 guesses for 4 gets 3 points, 3 guesses for 5 net 2 points, and 2 guesses for 6 points earns a single point each. And here's how the non-scoring answers go. I guess Raf's response of 50 would have counted if they'd scored in the point sprints as well, but I think we can agree that this answer was quite a stake in the sand, but Sauber really took a kicking this year. And lastly, the Haas question is the average finishing position for the sprint races between Kevin and Nico. With Kevin missing the sprint in Brazil, there were only 5 events and the average finishing position difference was 1.2 places. However, the standard deviation between their finishing positions was actually 6.8, as they had a very topsy-turvy time of it this year. Still, nobody guessed correctly here, but 4 guesses earn 6 points, another 4 get 4 points, 13 guesses get 3 points, 2 get 2, and 2 get 1 point. And these are the non-scoring answers for this round. A special dunce hat for Seawolf, who thought last was an acceptable answer in a question looking for a number, and quite how you managed to get to that as a valid difference between 2 drivers is beyond me. On to the next round. In this, I wanted you to pick 5 races, and you'd earn Alex Albon's points for those races. Alex only scored on 4 occasions, so there's a lot of low scores to be expected here. He scored a 9th place in Monaco, another 9th place in Britain, another 9th place in Monza, and then a 7th place in Baku. And here's how the first 15 of us answered. Some of you actually can't read instructions that well and didn't pick 5 options, so in this case Batty Joe's entries for this are void for picking more than 5. And here's the other half of the answers, with another 3 people who can't follow instructions. So Sir X gets a penalty for doing more than 5 races, Glyn gets a penalty for doing less than 5, and Volps gets a penalty for doing more than 5. On to the next section. The intention was to focus on reliability, but as it will become quite obvious, that's not quite what's on display here. This section is, however, lucrative in terms of points, as it is scored using the current F1 scoring system of 25 points for a win, 18 points for second, 15 points for third, and then 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 and 1. In this question I wanted to know who would manage the least laps in the sprint races. I deliberately did not include a someone else option here, as that would sort of win by default if they only competed in one race. However, in recognition of them only competing in 3 sprints before being dropped by their respective teams, the correct answer is both Daniel Ricciardo and Logan Sargent for only competing 61 laps. 13 of you voted for Logan Sargent and bagged the 25 points. As there was a tie for first place in this ranking, there is no 18-point answer. Instead, 4 people gained 15 points for Kevin after he missed the Sao Paulo sprint, 4 points for Lance, gained 10 points after he DNF'd in the Miami sprint, and the 9 entries that voted for anyone else gained 4 points, as 123 laps was the total number of sprint laps for this year. Like the previous question, this one was dictated not by reliability, but by a driver being dropped from their team, so the correct answer is Logan Sargent, only completing 769 laps over the course of the 2024 season. An interesting statistic for this one, Oscar Piastri completed every racing lap this year with 1,444 laps from the regular races and 123 laps in the sprints. This means he never got lapped either throughout the course of the entire year. In this question, 21 of you correctly guessed Sargent would complete the least laps. 1 vote for Kevin scores 12 points, 3 votes for Esteban score 10 points, 2 votes for Yuki score 8 points, and I voted Lance and earned 4 points. There were also 2 non-scoring answers here, both for Zhou Guanyu, who was just outside the points in 11th, after completing 1,345 laps over the course of the season. And now it's time to bring down the tone of this light-hearted challenge with some gratuitous crashing. In this question, I wanted to know who would have the most DNFs through the season. The correct answer was Alexander Albon, with 7 retirements overall. Nobody actually got this right, but the next highest guess was for Yuki, who in joint second place earns them 6 points. Then there's no 4 and 3 point scores, but Lance scores 2 points, and then the 18 votes for the drivers tied on 2 DNFs each all earn a single point. On the non-scoring answers, Kevin had a single DNF in Monaco and Charles Leclerc had a DNF in Canada. And next up, I wanted to know the race with the most DNFs. This ended up being a tie between Canada and Qatar, both of them with 5 DNFs. Canada saw Albon, Leclerc, Perez, Sainz and Sargent not finishing. Meanwhile, Qatar had Hülkenberg, Ocon, Perez, Stroll and Colapinto not finishing. 2 people voted for Canada and I voted for Qatar, so we all earned 10 points from this one. 2 votes for Monaco scored 4 points for 4 DNFs, and then 2 votes for Japan and 1 for China and 1 point for 3 DNFs each. For the non-scoring answers, 5 people guessed Singapore, which had a single DNF, 4 people guessed Las Vegas, which had 2 DNFs, 3 people guessed Azerbaijan, which had only Yuki DNFing, 4 people said Saudi Arabia, which had 2 DNFs, 1 vote for Australia, which had 2 DNFs, 1 vote each for Italy, Hungary and Belgium, which all had 1 DNF, and the Netherlands, which had no DNFs. Moving on to the last section. In this final round, we're looking for some quick true and false questions. So, true or false? All teams in the 2024 season will score points. 24 of you said that this would be true, 6 said it would be false. The answer is, of course, true. So, we all gain 10 points. Next question. True or false? Lance Stroll will outscore Pierre Gasly. 8 of you said that this would be true, 22 said it would be false. Lance scored 24 points and Pierre Gasly scored 42 points. Therefore, this is false. True or false? The winning driver takes 6 or fewer race wins in the season. 3 people said this would be true, 27 said this would be false, and Max took 9 victories over the course of this year, so this is also false. True or false? The outcome of the Drivers' World Championship would be different if the results from the sprint races are disregarded. 5 people said this would be true, 25 people said it'd be false. Disregarding the sprint results, Max would earn a total of 396 points to Lando's 338, which means that this is also false. True or false? The top 5 in the Constructors' Championship order going into the summer break will be the same as the final order. 13 people said this would be true, 17 said this would be false. Going into after Belgium, the order stands as Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes and Aston Martin. At the end of the season, Red Bull had dropped to 3rd in the Constructors' Championship, promoting McLaren up to win and Ferrari in 2nd. So this is also false. And the final true or false question. 3 or more drivers will announce their retirement before the end of the 2024 season. 10 people thought this would be true, 20 thought this would be false. Now, I couldn't actually find any instances of a driver announcing their retirement from the sports before the end of the season, therefore this is false. And indeed, I can't actually see any of the drivers who have lost their seat for this year officially announcing any retirement. What this does mean is we now have the end of the predictions challenge. So let's go to the results. And it's congratulations to Zed, who comes out the winner by just 2 points, with 329 total to take first place. Corvix comes a very close second, with Outfox in third with 304 points. Fjord comes in fourth with 295 points. Hobnob and Azure are tied for 288 points. Lazarus comes in seventh with 283 points. Patty Joe in eighth with 276 points. Jack with 272 points comes in ninth. And in 10th place it's myself with 269 points. 11th sees Luca with 261 points. Funky's in 12th with 253 points. Raf comes in 13th with 250 points. Edison is in 14th with 247 points. Sochi in 15th with 236 points. Halley gets 16th with 227 points. Rusty in 17th with 224 points. Harper and Knight are tied on 18th for 215 points. And Volps has 211 points to come 20th. And then we have Twuth in 21st with 205 points. Felian in 22nd with 203. Shadow in 23rd with 199 points. Surex in 24th with 197 points. Bo in 25th with 190 points. Glyn in 26th with 187 points. Gabby and Foxhound tied in 27th with 158 points. Lucky with 141 points to be 29th. And Seawolf bringing up the rear with 103 points. I'd like to take a moment to thank you all for competing in the F1 First Predictions Challenge this year. And if you want, you can enter the 2025 Predictions Challenge now using the QR code on screen. Alternatively, I will drop a link to the form in the F1 First Telegram channel after this. I would also like to take a moment to thank the F1 First admins for having a remarkably chill chat that we can all have a lot of fun in, especially during the weekends, even if it gets quite busy during the races. And I would again like to thank all of our participants for sparing their time to make my life in Excel a real headache for the past year. And I shall see you all again soon.